What does it really take to be a great leader? Is it about having all the answers or just being in charge? Maybe you've seen leaders who talk a lot, but don't inspire real change. Maybe you've been in situations where leadership felt empty or confusing. What if great leadership isn't about power or titles, but about what people actually do every day? In this video, you'll discover the honest, sometimes tough actions that separate real leaders from everyone else. You'll learn why leadership means showing up when it's hard, making decisions others avoid, and pushing through resistance no matter what. If you're ready to stop guessing and start leading with purpose and impact, keep watching. This is the truth about leadership you need to hear, and it will change how you see yourself and those around you. Stay with me and get ready to take action. Number 1, stand up first when no one else will move. You know what separates those who rise from those who watch? It's not talent, it's not connections, it's not even timing. It's the decision to stand up first when no one else will move. That's it. That moment when the room is quiet, when people are frozen in fear, when eyes are darting, waiting, unsure, you get up. And in that moment, you change everything. Because people don't follow speeches. They don't follow titles. They follow action. They follow courage. They follow the one who moves first. That's leadership. That's belief. That's how lives change. And it starts with one simple, difficult thing. Standing up when you feel just as afraid as everyone else. But refuse to let that stop you. Most people are waiting for someone to give them permission. Waiting for the right time. Waiting until they feel ready. But here's the truth. You will never feel completely ready. There will always be doubt. There will always be fear. And there will always be a reason to wait. Greatness doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who move. And when you stand up first, you don't just shift your own life. You shift the room. You show others what's possible. You show them that they can act too. You open the door. That's what belief in yourself does. It unlocks a chain reaction. It gives others courage. Because someone else showed them how it's done. And believe me, that someone has to be you. Don't underestimate what standing up means. It's not about being loud. It's not about being perfect. It's about being willing. It's about saying, I will not let fear decide what I do. I will not let the crowd silence my voice. I will not sit back and let the moment pass me by. That's the difference between the person who changes their life and the one who keeps waiting for things to change. You have a choice every day. You can blend in, or you can stand up. Most people blend in. It feels safer. It feels easier. But the longer you stay in the background, the harder it is to believe in yourself, because your actions shape your belief. Every time you move, even when it's scary, even when no one joins you, your mind starts to believe that you're capable. You prove to yourself what's real, and that's how you grow. You're not here to be invisible. You're not here to live quietly, hoping someone notices you. You're here to lead your own life, and that starts by acting before you're comfortable. Believing before you see results. Standing up before anyone else dares to. Because if you wait for the world to believe in you first, you'll wait forever. You have to go first. You have to believe before the evidence shows up. That's what makes belief powerful. It's built on conviction, not convenience. And you don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the strongest. You don't need a degree. You don't need approval. What you need is resolve. You need to decide that your future matters more than your fear. You need to decide that your vision is more important than their opinions. You need to trust that you are strong enough to take the first step, even if your legs are shaking. You know what happens when you stand up first? You discover who you really are. You stop living in the shadow of doubt and start living in the light of truth. You stop pretending and start becoming. The moment you take that step, even the smallest step, you wake up something inside you that's been waiting for a long time. That's how you build self-respect. That's how you build confidence. It's not by reading. It's not by watching others. It's by doing. And that starts by being first to move. You don't need to ask for anyone's approval to believe in yourself. You don't need a crowd to start. Most people will never support you until after you've succeeded. That's the hard truth. They'll question you. They'll doubt you. They'll wonder who you think you are. That's not your problem. That's their fear talking. Don't argue. Don't explain. Just move. Just show them. Because when they see you rise, they'll learn it's possible for them too. Your example matters more than your opinion. People might ignore what you say, but they will never forget what you do. So move. When it's uncomfortable, move. When you feel alone, move. When you think no one cares, Move anyway, because your courage is more powerful than you realize. And every time you stand up, you give someone else a reason to believe they can too. It's easy to talk about dreams. It's easy to plan, to journal, to visualize. But life changes when you act, and action is hardest when you're first. That's why it means the most. That's why it defines leaders go first. Not because they're fearless, but because they know the cost of waiting. They know what happens when good people stay silent. They know what happens when you let fear win. Look around you. How many people are sitting in fear right now? How many people are waiting for a sign? Waiting for someone to go first, so they feel safe to follow. They're watching, they're hoping, but they don't know how. You do. You've got it in you. You don't need to feel it to do it. You need to decide. You can spend your life hiding, or you can spend your life building. You can stay comfortable, or you can choose courage. But you can't have both. One will keep you stuck. The other will set you free. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs real examples, real leadership, real belief in action. And that begins with the one person willing to move when it's scary. That's your job. That's your power. That's your responsibility. You've got one life, one shot, and every day you hesitate. You lose ground, not to others, but to fear, to self-doubt, to wasted potential. You don't need to live that way. You don't need to hold back. You were built to rise. You were built to lead, and leadership always starts with that first. So when the room is quiet, when no one's sure what to do, when people are looking around hoping someone else speaks up or moves forward, stand. Stand with conviction. Stand with purpose. Stand not because you feel ready, but because it's right. That's what great people do. That's what belief looks like. That's how lives change. Not in giant leaps, but in powerful moments. When one person stands up and says, I will not sit back. I will move. I will lead. And when you become that person, everything changes. Not just for you, but for everyone who's been waiting for someone like you. Number 2, speak the truth even when it's hard to hear. If you avoid the truth to keep people comfortable, you will stay stuck in a life that doesn't belong to you. There's a moment in every person's life when they're standing on the edge of two choices, silence or truth. One feels easier, the other feels heavier, but only one of them leads to real strength, real growth, real change. And that's speaking the truth, even when it's hard to hear. You see, most people aren't afraid of truth because they don't know it. They're afraid of it because they do know it. Deep down, they feel it in their gut. They feel the discomfort, the weight, the unease. And that's where the battle begins. Because truth isn't always soft. It doesn't always make you feel good. Sometimes it stings. But that sting is exactly what wakes you up. And most people spend their whole life trying to avoid that feeling. But the ones who grow, they face it, they say it, and they don't run from it. Speaking the truth is not about being harsh. It's not about being better than anyone else. It's about having the strength to say what needs to be said. To yourself and to others when staying silent would be safer. Safe doesn't build character. Safe doesn't lead to greatness. Safe keeps you small. Truth forces you to stretch. When you lie to yourself, even in small ways, you destroy your own progress. You say things like, I'm okay, when you're not. I'll start tomorrow, when you know you won't. This isn't a big deal when it's tearing you apart. That kind of dishonesty numbs your life. It eats away at your confidence. And over time, it makes you forget what it even means to be honest with yourself. That's why the hardest truths are always the ones you whisper when no one's around. And those are the ones you have to say out loud if you ever want to break free. Maybe it's admitting you're not doing your best. Maybe it's calling yourself out for blaming others. Maybe it's recognizing that the life you're living doesn't match the one you promised yourself. That hurts, but that hurt wakes you up. It gives you the power to change. And when it comes to other people, the same rule applies. If you love them, truly love them, you won't lie to protect their comfort. You'll speak up, even when it risks the relationship. Because nothing good comes from keeping people in the dark. They can't grow if they don't know. They can't fix what no one's willing to talk about. But here's the thing. Most people aren't used to honesty. They're used to filters. They're used to fake support. So when you bring truth into the room, it shocks them. Some will resist. Some will get angry. Some will walk away. That's the price. But the ones who stay, they'll respect you. They'll trust you. Because deep down, we all crave truth, even when it hurts. Being the one who speaks the truth is not easy. It takes courage most people don't build. It takes discipline. It takes emotional strength. Because when you say what no one else wants to say, all eyes turn to you. You become the mirror, and mirrors aren't always welcomed. But don't run from that responsibility. Stand in it. That's where leadership begins. Not with charisma, not with charm, but with the ability to speak the truth clearly and stand behind it fully. There's a reason the world lacks real leadership. There's a reason people are confused, distracted, and emotionally worn out. It's because most voices out there are filtered. They tell people what they want to hear. They avoid hard truths to keep likes, to protect images, to gain approval. But truth doesn't need approval. It needs conviction. And truth isn't always loud. Sometimes the most powerful truth is spoken quietly, but firmly, like looking someone in the eye and saying, "You're capable of more than this," or "You're making excuses," or "You're hurting yourself by staying here." It doesn't sound inspirational in the moment, but it is, because the people who heard it will think about it when they're alone, and one day they'll act on it. That's the impact of truth. It plants something deep that keeps growing long after the words are gone. And don't think for a second that you can lead a strong life without this skill. You can have talent, you can have ambition, you can read all the right books, but if you can't speak the truth when it counts, you'll never earn real trust. You'll never develop true confidence, because confidence doesn't come from pretending. It comes from alignment, from saying what you believe, from facing what's real, from being bold enough to be clear even when it shakes things up. If you've got people in your life who always agree with you, challenge that. If no one's ever told you something that made you uncomfortable, but helped you grow, question that. Because growth doesn't happen in echo chambers. It happens in honest, clear, real conversations. Conversations that push you to rise. Conversations that challenge your story, that ask more from you. And sometimes, you've got to be the one to start them. You will never regret speaking the truth. You may lose people. You may make some people uncomfortable, but you'll sleep better. You'll walk taller. You'll feel stronger. Because the weight of silence is far heavier than the weight of honesty. And remember this, the truth that's hardest to say is usually the one that changes everything. The conversation you've been avoiding, the decision you've been delaying, the standard you've been lowering. That's the one that will unlock your next level. But only if you face it, only if you speak it, only if you stop pretending that silence is strength. It's not. Strength is being clear when it's easier to blur the lines. So if you've been holding back thinking the truth is too much, it's not. You are built to carry it. You are built to speak it. You are not here to live half-truths and half-lives. You are here to grow, to rise, and to build something real. And real things are built on truth. Truth is the foundation. Without it, nothing lasts. Not your goals, not your peace, not your self-worth. So speak it. Speak the truth to yourself first. Speak it with respect. Speak it with clarity. Speak it because you care too much to keep pretending. Speak it because you know that silence won't save you, and it won't save them. Speak it because that's how you break cycles. That's how you stop the slow decay of dishonesty. That's how you become the person you were meant to be. The moment you choose truth over comfort, you separate yourself from the crowd. You step into a life where you can trust yourself fully, where people know what you stand for, where your actions match your words. That's not just powerful, that's rare. Be rare. Be real. Be someone who tells the truth even when it's not easy. That's where real influence begins. And when you walk in truth, speak in truth, and live in truth, the world around you will start to change. Not because it's easy, but because you made it honest. And that is the beginning of everything that matters. Number 3, listen fully without interrupting or judging anyone. Most people don't feel heard because most people don't truly listen. And that's exactly why the world is filled with frustration, disconnection, and silent suffering. If you want to become someone people trust, someone others respect, someone others feel safe around, you have to master one thing most people completely overlook: the ability to listen fully, without interrupting, without judging, and without waiting to respond. Listening is not a passive act. It's one of the most powerful and active tools you will ever use as a human being. Because real listening, the kind that heals, the kind that connects, the kind that makes people feel like they matter, that's rare. And because it's rare, it's powerful. People walk around carrying stories they've never shared, pain they've never named, confusion they've never sorted through. And sometimes the only thing they need is someone who will stay quiet long enough to hear them. Not fix them, not preach to them, not one-up them, just hear them with presence, with attention, with heart. But here's the truth. Most people don't listen to understand, they listen to reply. They wait for their turn to speak. They're already forming their answer while the other person is still talking. And when you do that, you're not connecting, you're performing. You're not creating space for someone. You're taking it away. The strongest people I've ever met, the wisest leaders, the most influential minds, they're not the ones talking all the time. They're the ones listening. And you know how you can tell someone really listens? You feel calm around them. You feel safe. You feel seen. That's not something you can fake. People feel when you're present. They know when your attention is real. That's why it matters. Listening is not about having the right word. It's about giving someone the right space. It's about creating a moment where someone doesn't have to defend themselves, explain themselves, or impress you. They just get to be themselves. Raw, honest, and real. And when you do that for someone, you become unforgettable. There are people out there right now who have never been truly heard. Their whole life, people have interrupted them, talked over them, dismissed them, told them what to think, corrected their feelings, and you have a chance to be the first person in their life who just listens, who just lets them speak without trying to control the outcome. You don't need to solve their problems. You don't need to have the answers. You just need to be present. Because when someone feels heard, they start to heal. When someone feels seen, they start to believe they matter. That alone can change a life. And I'll tell you something else. Listening is a skill you practice. You don't just decide to be a good listener. You train it. You work at it. You catch yourself when your mind starts drifting. You stop yourself when you feel the urge to interrupt. You remind yourself that this isn't about you. It's about them. Listening without judgment means you hold space for someone, even if you disagree, even if their story makes you uncomfortable, even if their emotions feel big. You don't shut them down. You don't shrink the moment. You stay. You hold the silence. You let the storm pass through. That kind of strength, emotional strength, that's what builds character. That's what people remember. And it's not easy, because listening can feel powerless. It can make you feel like you're not doing anything. But don't confuse stillness with weakness. In the space where you listen, people find clarity. They sort themselves out. They step into their truth, and they can only do that when they don't feel judged. You want to be someone people trust, someone they come to when it's real, someone who earns loyalty that can't be bought. Learn to listen, not just with your ears, but with your eyes, with your posture, with your silence, with your full attention. Think about it. When was the last time someone really listened to you? No distractions, no yeah but, no half listening while scrolling on their phone. Just you, being heard, fully, clearly, completely. It's rare. And when it happens, it stays with you. Now imagine being that person for others. Imagine the impact you could have if you made every conversation a safe place. Imagine how many people would open up to you, grow with you, trust you. Not because you said the perfect thing, but because you didn't need to. You listened. And in today's world, that's a superpower. Listening isn't just about kindness, it's strategic. It helps you lead better, sell better, teach better, parent better, love better. The more you listen, the more you understand what people need, what they fear, what they value. That gives you insight most people miss. Judgment shuts people down. Listening draws people in. Judgment closes doors. Listening opens them. You don't have to agree with someone to hear them. You just have to care enough to stay present. And here's a deeper truth. When you learn to listen to others, you also learn to listen to yourself. You stop ignoring your own inner voice. You stop cutting yourself off. You stop trying to escape uncomfortable feelings. You learn to sit with them, understand them, work through them, because you've practiced that with others. So it's not just about relationships, it's about transformation. Yours and theirs. Make this real in your life. The next time someone talks to you, put the phone down. Make eye contact. Don't look away. Don't rehearse your answer while they're speaking. Just be there. Breathe. Stay open. And when they finish, don't rush to fill the silence. Let it sit. Let it breathe. That's where the magic happens. If you can do this, even with one person a day, you will stand out in a world full of noise. You will build connections that last. You will impact people in ways they can't explain but will always feel. And more than that, You will become someone people trust, not because of what you say, but because of how you make them feel. Listening is power. It's influence. It's connection. It's leadership. And it's a choice you get to make in every conversation. So choose it. Choose to be present. Choose to stay open. Choose to hold space. Choose to listen fully, without interrupting, without judging. Because that choice can change lives, and one of them might be yours. Number 4, make tough decisions that protect the whole team. Most people want to lead until it's time to make the hard decisions. The ones that cost comfort, demand courage, and protect everyone else before protecting yourself. That's where real leadership begins. You don't earn the trust of a team by saying what's popular. You earn it when you're willing to carry the weight they can't. When things are uncertain, when pressure is high, when fear is in the room, someone has to rise and say, this is the way forward. Even if that decision feels heavy, lonely, and misunderstood. Because leadership isn't about being liked. It's about doing what's right when it's hard. It's about making decisions that may not win applause, but keep the mission alive and the people safe. And most people aren't ready for that responsibility. They want the title, not the test. They want the respect, not the risk. But you can't separate the two. A leader's job is to think beyond themselves, to see the bigger picture, to recognize that every choice has consequences that stretch further than the moment. Every decision sends a message. It shapes culture. It defines the standard. And sometimes you have to make a call that disappoints one person to protect the many. That's the burden most people avoid. They wait for someone else to decide. They hide behind excuses. They talk circles instead of drawing the line. But when you're in charge, whether it's a business, a family, a relationship, or your own life, you don't get to hide. You step forward and you face what others ignore. And here's the truth. If you're not willing to make the tough calls, you'll lose everything you're trying to protect. Because avoiding hard decisions doesn't keep people safe. It weakens them. It creates confusion. It breeds resentment. It leads to chaos. Clarity requires decisions, and courage requires sacrifice. You don't make tough decisions because you enjoy them. You make them because you care too much not to. You make them because you know what's at stake. You know what it costs to do nothing, and you refuse to let fear make your choices for you. There will be times when you have to let someone go. Not because you don't care about them, but because their presence is hurting the team. There will be moments when you have to say no. Not because it's easy, but because saying yes would compromise your value. There will be seasons when you have to walk away from something you once loved, because holding on to it is pulling everything else down with it. And every time, people will question you. They'll wonder why you did it. Some won't understand. Some won't agree. But that's not your job. Your job is to see the truth clearly and act on it boldly. Because real leaders aren't driven by approval. They're driven by purpose. And sometimes that purpose demands that you take a hit so others don't have to. Most people avoid the hard call because they're afraid of regret. But what they don't realize is that the regret of not deciding is always greater. The pain of staying silent, the damage of doing nothing, the fallout of indecision. It adds up. It creates deeper wounds than any difficult choice ever will. You're going to feel fear. You're going to feel doubt. You're going to feel the weight of responsibility press against your chest. And still, you have to act. That's what separates those who lead from those who follow. The ability to move even when it hurts. Think about the people you respect most in your life. The ones you look up to. The ones whose words hold weight. I guarantee you, they didn't get there by taking the easy road. They got there because they made the decisions no one else was willing to make. They stood firm when it counted. They chose principle over popularity, and then protected the mission even when it cost them something personal. That's who you need to become. You have to be the one who says, this isn't working. We need to change direction. I can't allow this to continue. And when your voice shakes, even when your stomach is in knots, even when you're unsure how it will be received, because someone has to. And if you don't do it, who will? People will follow your example more than your words. They're watching you when things get hard. They're looking to see if you flinch, if you waver, if you choose comfort over courage, and when you stay steady, when you do the right thing instead of the easy thing. You build something far more valuable than temporary peace. You build trust, and trust is everything. Without it, you have no team. You have no culture. You have no future. The trust is built in the moments when people see you doing what's hard, because it's right. They may not agree at first. They may feel angry. But in time, they will respect you. And that respect is what creates unity, strength, and real loyalty. Never forget this. Protecting people doesn't always mean making them comfortable. Sometimes it means challenging them, confronting what they don't want to face, taking away what's holding them back. That's not cruelty. That's leadership. That's love in action. And it starts with you. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't wait until everyone's on board. You assess the truth. You weigh the consequences. You feel the fear. And then you act. With clarity, with conviction, with compassion. You say, this is what needs to happen. This is where we're going. And I'm willing to take responsibility for that call. Because real leaders don't just protect people from problems. They protect people from the consequences of poor leadership. They take the pressure off others by taking it onto themselves. And in doing that, they earn what most people will never have. The deep, unshakable respect of those they lead. And that respect, that's more valuable than being liked. That's more lasting than popularity. That's what creates real impact. It's what makes people rise. It's what pulls the best out of them. If you want to lead, don't chase approval. Chase wisdom. Chase truth. Chase what's right, even if it's hard, and then make the decision no one else wants to make. Not because you want to, but because you must. That's what great leaders actually do. So if you're standing in front of a tough decision right now, one that feels heavy, one that makes your chest tighten, one that keeps you up at night, stop waiting. Stop hoping it'll go away. Look it in the eye, face it, and do what must be done. You might lose something short term, but long term, you gain everything that matters. Integrity, clarity, and the unshakable belief that you are strong enough to carry the weight of leadership. Make the tough call. Protect your team. Stand in your power, and earn the right to lead. Number 5, hold yourself accountable before blaming anyone else. If your life isn't where you want it to be right now, stop blaming and start looking in the mirror. Because that's where real power begins. The world teaches you to point fingers, to say it's your boss, your parents, your past, the economy, your partner, your friends, your luck. But I'm here to tell you something most people don't want to hear. As long as you keep blaming, you're giving your power away. You are handing over control of your life to people who may never change. And that means your life won't either. Blame feels easy. It feels safe. But it keeps you stuck. You can't grow and blame at the same time. You can't become who you're meant to be while constantly shifting responsibility onto someone else. Every time you do, you miss the chance to rise. You miss the opportunity to get better. You miss the most important truth of all. You are responsible for your life. Nobody else is going to fix it. Nobody else is going to carry your weight. And nobody else should. It's your life. It's your mind. It's your time. It's your future. And it's only when you take full responsibility that things begin to change. Not a little bit. Radically. The moment you stop looking out and start looking in, that's when your power gets activated. That's when you stop reacting and start creating. That's when you stop waiting and start moving. And that shift, that inner transformation, is the foundation of all greatness. Now let me be clear. Responsibility is not the same as guilt. This isn't about blaming yourself. It's about claiming your life. It's about saying, I may not have caused everything in my life, but I am responsible for how I respond, how I grow, and what I do now. That's where the game changes. Because as long as it's someone else's fault, you're helpless. You're a victim. But when you say, this is on me, even when it hurts, even when it's uncomfortable, you become free. You become powerful. Because now you can do something about it. You can learn. You can adjust. You can move forward. Think about the strongest people you know. The ones who earn real respect. The ones who lead without trying. The ones you'd trust with anything. They don't blame. They don't make excuses. They own their role fully. If something goes wrong, they look at what they could have done better before pointing at anyone else. And that's not weakness. That's what strength looks like. That's what leadership looks like. It takes character to say, I messed up. It takes courage to say, that was my fault. It takes real maturity to say, I'm not proud of how I handled that, but I'm going to fix it. And those moments, those exact moments, are what make you grow. Not when things go perfectly. Not when you win, but when you stumble, when you fall short, and you don't run from it. You face it. You own it. Because accountability isn't about shame. It's about power. The moment you take ownership of a mistake, you take the 5th step toward improvement. And the faster you own it, the faster you grow. Blame delays your progress. It builds walls between you and people who want to help you. It stops honest conversations from happening. And worst of all, it keeps your identity small. Because the more you blame, the more you believe you're powerless. That belief becomes your truth, and that truth becomes your cage. But the opposite is also true. The more you hold yourself accountable, the more you start to believe in your own ability to change, to improve, to lead, to take charge of your path. You stop avoiding the hard questions. You stop defending mediocrity. You stop trying to protect your pride and start fighting for your future. And let's talk about pride for a second, because it's the number one thing that keeps people from taking responsibility. They'd rather protect their ego than fix their life. They'd rather look right than be right. But pride never built anything real. What builds real results is humility, self-awareness, the willingness to say, I'm not where I want to be, but I'm willing to do what it takes. You can't grow if you're too busy defending where you are. Growth comes when you drop the defense and face the truth. That's hard, but it's worth it every time. And here's something that will change your relationships. Hold yourself accountable before blaming anyone else. Before you criticize them, ask yourself what you missed, what you overlooked, how you contributed. Because no situation is ever just one-sided. And when you own your part first, something powerful happens. The walls come down. The other person feels seen, and you create space for real resolution, not just reaction. That's how you build trust. That's how you build respect. Not by being perfect, but by being real. By being someone who owns their actions, cleans up their messes, and doesn't point fingers every time things get hard. And let me say this. If you're someone who keeps running into the same problems in life, the same conflicts, the same disappointments, it might not be bad luck. It might be a pattern. And if it's a pattern, you are the common denominator. That's not an insult. That's an invitation to go deeper, to get honest, to stop blaming the world and start transforming yourself. Because when you take responsibility, you regain control over what happens next. You stop living by chance and start living by choice. That's what freedom is. Not doing whatever you want, but knowing that no matter what happens, you have the power to respond in a way that makes you better, not bitter. And that mindset, that's what separates average from excellent. That's what separates wishful thinking from real achievement. That's what separates noise from influence. Because the person who holds themselves accountable becomes a force in the world. They don't talk much about what others should do. They focus on what they can do. And in doing that, they create real change. So the next time something goes wrong, pause. Don't react. Don't blame. Don't reach for the easy excuse. Ask yourself, what was my role in this? What can I do better next time? What lesson is here for me? And when you ask those questions consistently, your life begins to shift. You start to notice patterns. You start to see blind spots. You start to become someone who is deeply self-aware and deeply effective. That's rare. That's powerful. That's what changes lives. So here's your challenge. Starting today, hold yourself accountable before you blame anyone else in your work, in your relationships, in your habits. Every time you feel frustration rise, ask yourself, what's my responsibility here? It won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Because the truth is, the most successful people in the world, in business, in relationships, in life, they all have this one thing in common. They own their lives, fully, completely, without excuse. And you can too. Own your results, own your growth, own your mistake. And when you do, you'll be amazed at how quickly things start to change. Because you're no longer waiting for someone else to fix your life. You've taken the wheel, and from that place, anything is possible. Number 6, lift others up when they feel like giving up. There will be moments when someone you care about is hanging by a thread. What you say, what you do, and how you show up in that exact moment could be the reason they choose to keep going or completely give up. Everyone talks about success, but no one talks about how often people feel like quitting right before they get there. Not because they're weak, but because they're exhausted. Because they've been fighting for so long with nothing to show for it. Because life has hit them so many times they can't tell if they're still standing or just surviving. And it's in those moments, when someone's spirit is cracking, that they need someone else to remind them who they are. That someone is you. Lifting someone up isn't about big speeches or perfect advice. It's about seeing their pain before they say a word. It's about catching the look in their eye that says, I'm done, and saying, no, you're not. It's about being strong for them when they can't find their strength. Because sometimes we don't need a solution. We just need someone who refuses to let us fall. You've got people in your life right now who are smiling in public and breaking in private. They won't tell you they're drowning. They won't ask for help. They've gotten used to carrying everything alone. But deep down, they're waiting for someone to notice, waiting for someone to care enough to ask twice, waiting for someone to remind them that they matter, that they still have more in them, that quitting isn't the answer. And that's where you come in. Not everyone has the words. Not everyone has the energy, but you have the power to lift people up just by being there. By checking in when it's not convenient. By saying, I believe in you, when they've stopped believing in themselves. By refusing to let them stay buried in self-doubt. You don't need to understand everything they're going through. You just need to stay beside them when it would be easier to walk away. People don't forget who showed up when everything fell apart. They don't forget who stayed when things got dark. They don't forget the one voice that said, you're stronger than this. I'm not letting you go. And sometimes all it takes is one person, just one, to pull someone out of a mental spiral that could have destroyed everything they worked for. So many people are one step away from quitting on their dreams, quitting on their health, quitting on their purpose, even quitting on life. And when they're that low, they don't need judgment. They need connection. They need truth. They need hope. And hope often shows up in the form of another human being who says, I see you. I'm not giving up on you. So you don't get to give up either. Understand this. Lifting someone up doesn't make you weaker. It makes you a leader. It makes you someone others trust. It makes you the anchor in a storm. And it will be one of the most meaningful things you ever do. Because helping someone heal, helping someone rise, helping someone believe again, that's legacy. That's impact. But don't wait for the obvious signs. Most people won't say they're struggling. You've got to listen closer. You've got to pay attention to the silence, the distance, the shift in energy. You've got to notice when their fire starts to dim. And instead of pulling away, you lean in. And when you lean in, don't fill the space with empty words. Be real. Be specific. Tell them what you admire about them. Tell them what they've already overcome. Tell them how you've seen them rise before. Speak to their strength. Reflect their potential back to them, especially when they've forgotten it. Because no one can carry their own weight forever. Even the strongest people have limits. Even the ones who always show up for everyone else have breaking points. And often, the ones who seem the most put together are the ones most in need of support. Because they've made it their identity to be strong. And when they break, they feel shame instead of safety. That's why your role matters so much. You give people permission to feel without falling apart. You show them that struggle doesn't make them broken. It makes them human. You teach them that asking for help isn't weakness. It's wisdom. You will never know the full impact of your words. One message, one call, one honest moment can be the very thing that keeps someone alive. I'm not talking about making people feel good for 5 minutes. I'm talking about helping them reconnect with their why when they've lost sight of it. I'm talking about reminding them of their value when the world made them feel invisible. And don't forget, this isn't just about strangers. This is about your own circle, your friends, your family, the people you assume are okay because they never complain. Check on them, praise them, thank them. Because people are carrying so much in silence, and it takes almost nothing to say, I see how hard you're trying. That one sentence can bring someone back to life. The truth is, we rise together or we don't rise at all. It's not just about personal success. It's about being the kind of person who builds others while they climb, who reaches back instead of moving on, who says, if I've found a way through, I'm going to help you find yours too. And here's the irony. The more you lift others up, the more you rise yourself. Not because you expect anything in return, but because you become someone whose presence creates possibility. You become someone people look to, not for answers, but for strength, for grounding, for belief. When you lift someone up, you teach them how to lift others. You start a chain reaction of strength. Because every person who almost gave up and didn't, they go on to help someone else. And that ripple effect, that's how you change the world. One voice, one hand, one moment at a time. So if someone you know is slipping, don't wait. Don't assume they'll figure it out. Reach out. Say something. Show up. Tell them they're not alone. Remind them of what they've survived. Paint a picture of their future when all they can see is the pain. Be the light, not by fixing their life, but by refusing to let them face it alone. You've got more power than you think. Use it. Use your words to build. Use your time to support. Use your heart to connect. Because lifting someone up when they feel like giving up might be the most important thing you ever do. And when you look back one day, you won't remember every win. You won't remember every milestone, but you will remember the moments when someone said, I was ready to quit, but then you showed up. Be that person. Today, right now. Be the reason someone decides to keep going. That is real greatness. That is real leadership. That is who you were always meant to be. Number 7, take action fast when everyone else is waiting. Most people miss their moment. Not because they weren't smart enough or talented enough, but because they waited too long to move. They waited for the perfect time. They waited for permission. They waited for clarity, for motivation, for certainty. And in that waiting, they lost the window. They let hesitation turn into regret. They watched opportunity slip away. Not because it disappeared, but because they didn't move. And maybe that's you right now. Maybe you've been sitting on a decision that you know you need to make. Maybe you've been playing it safe when everything in you is screaming to move forward. Maybe you're surrounded by people who are still thinking, still planning, still talking, and you've gotten comfortable watching instead of doing. But here's what you need to understand. In life, speed matters. When your heart knows it's time to act, and you don't, you lose your edge, you lose your energy, you lose your chance. Because action creates momentum. Action builds confidence, and action separates the ones who say they want it from the ones who go get it. The world doesn't wait for you to be ready. It moves fast, and if you're still standing still, you're falling behind. The people who rise, the ones who stand out, the ones who change their life, they don't wait for conditions to be perfect. They make a decision, and then they figure it out as they go. They understand that clarity comes after action, not before, that you don't need to have every step mapped out to take the first one. That forward is the only direction that builds power. Think about the times in your life when you hesitated, when you saw a chance, felt the pull, and still paused. Maybe it was applying for something, speaking up, starting that project, walking away from the wrong situation. And what happened? The energy died, the fear grew, the moment passed, and now it lives in your memory as a what if. Now think about the moments you moved, even when you weren't ready, even when you were scared. You didn't have all the answers, but you had the guts. And because of that, something changed, something opened. Maybe it didn't go perfectly, but it shifted something inside you. That's the power of taking action fast. That's what most people will never understand. And this is important. When everyone else is waiting, that is the time to act, not after. While they're frozen, while they're overthinking, while they're busy being careful, that's your signal to move. Because when you take action in moments of hesitation, you gain ground, while others are standing still. That's how you separate yourself. But it's hard, right? Because we're wired to play it safe. We're taught to avoid mistakes. We're told to wait until the timing is right. And that's exactly why so many people live average lives, because they followed average advice. The truth is, greatness doesn't come from perfection. It comes from urgency, from being willing to take the shot before you feel ready, from trusting yourself enough to start, even when you don't know how it'll all play out. Because movement builds answers, waiting builds nothing but doubt. And if you're waiting for someone to tell you it's time, that won't happen. No one is going to come save you. No one is going to hand you the moment you're dreaming about. Life gives you chances, not guarantees. And when one shows up, you either act or you don't. That's it. The people who act are the ones who win. Not because they never fail, but because they move, they learn, they adjust, and they keep going. While everyone else is still deciding, they're doing. And doing is what builds confidence. Doing is what builds credibility. Doing is what gets results. You've got an idea in you right now. A decision that's been on your heart. A move you've been avoiding. And you've been waiting, thinking, planning. But deep down, you already know what to do. You've just been scared to do it. So let me say this clearly, stop waiting. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for more signs. Don't wait for the crowd. Don't wait until you feel ready. Because most of the time, you won't. But if you act now, your feelings will catch up. Courage doesn't come before action. It shows up because of action. And here's what's going to happen. When you start moving, the fear starts to fade, the doubt starts to shrink, and the path starts to reveal itself, because you're not stuck, you're just still. And stillness breeds overthinking, but motion breeds momentum. It builds energy, it creates opportunity. People spend their entire lives waiting for the green light. You want the truth? You are the green light. You don't need a committee. You don't need another plan. You need urgency. You need to, because while you're sitting there, someone else is taking the spot that could have been yours. Someone else is creating the thing you've been talking about for years. Someone else is living the life you keep putting off. And if that doesn't light a fire in you, then keep waiting. But if it does, then move now. Take the first step, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, even if you stumble, because the one who stumbles, moving forward, is still ahead of the one who stands still. You've got something powerful inside, but it doesn't matter how strong your potential is if you don't use it. And the only way to use it is to act fast, boldly, unapologetically, especially when others are standing still. This is how you change your life. Not by thinking harder, but by moving fast. Not by waiting for a sign, but by becoming one. Not by waiting for the crowd to move, but by being the one who moves first. So here's your challenge. Whatever's been sitting in your heart, the sin, the action, the step, do it today, before the doubt creeps back in, before the fear talks you out of it, before someone else does it first. Move now, act fast, lead when others hesitate, because those who move are the ones who shape the future, while the rest are still wondering what happened. Number 8, show up strong even when you're feeling weak. There are days when just getting out of bed feels like a war. When your body's tired, your mind is heavy, and everything inside you says, I can't do this today. But you show up anyway. That's what strength really looks like. It's not the loudest voice. It's not the perfect performance. It's the quiet decision to keep going. When you don't feel ready. When no one's watching. When no one's clapping. When it's just you and the pressure and the pain, and you still choose to stand tall and face the day. That's not weakness. That's power. Most people think you have to feel strong to be strong. But that's not true. Real strength is what you do when you don't feel it. When life has hit you so hard that your hands are shaking, your heart is uncertain, and your faith is low, but you still put your shoulders back, breathe deep, and keep going. Those are the moments that define who you are. Because anyone can show up when things are easy, when they feel motivated, when the sun is shining and the plan is working. But the people who create breakthroughs, they're the ones who show up in the storm. They're the ones who show up when their chest is tight, when their legs are weak, when their heart is broken. And they don't do it for applause. They do it because they know who they are. They do it because they've made a decision that their life will not be controlled by how they feel. You've got to understand something. Your emotions are valid, but they don't get to decide your action. If you wait to feel strong, you'll miss your life. You'll waste your potential. You'll surrender your power to moods that come and go, like the weather. But when you learn how to act in the face of weakness, that's when everything starts to shift. You want to know what courage is? It's standing up and speaking when your voice is shaking. It's walking into the room when your confidence is low. It's showing up for your family, your work, your goals. Not because you feel fearless, but because you've decided to be bigger than your fear. And you know what? You've already done it before. You've shown up on days when your heart was broken. You've smiled through pain you didn't talk about. You've given your best when no one clapped for you. You've supported others when no one was supporting you. So don't you dare believe that you're not strong. Don't you dare forget how far you've already come. But now it's time to take that strength and use it on purpose. You've got people counting on you. Maybe they've told you, maybe they haven't. You've got goals that won't complete themselves. You've got a future that's waiting for you to rise and meet it. And that future doesn't need your perfection. It needs your persistence. It needs you to keep showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. The people who build something great in this life, they don't do it because they always feel great. They do it because they refuse to disappear. They refuse to let a bad day turn into a bad month. They refuse to let discouragement become their identity. They show up tired, scared, uncertain. But they show up anyway. They push through the fog. They dig deep. They tell themselves, this might not be my best day, but it's still my day, and I'm not giving it away to weakness. That kind of mindset, that's rare. That's what changes lives. Because when you keep showing up, something incredible happens. Your resilience grows. Your self-respect grows. You start to trust yourself in a whole new way. You start to realize that you are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are the master of your habits. You are the leader of your life. You are in charge of how you respond, no matter how you feel. And listen, showing up strong doesn't mean faking it. It doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means doing what needs to be done in spite of how you feel. It means walking with shaky legs, speaking with a trembling voice, smiling with a tired heart. It means facing the hard moments with honesty and courage, and saying, I'm not okay, but I'm still moving forward. That's bravery. That's character. That's leadership. And it's in those exact moments, the ones where you feel empty, but still take action, that you build the foundation of a life that lasts. That's when you develop grit. That's when you earn respect, not just from others, but from yourself. You can't fake self-respect. You earn it when you show up in your lowest moments and give what you can, even if it's less than usual, even if it's not perfect, even if it feels like it's not enough. Because what matters most is not quitting. Quitting may feel easy now, but it costs more later. Every time you give up on yourself, you train your brain to stop trusting you. But every time you keep going, you send yourself a new message. I'm reliable. I don't run. I can count on me. And once you build that belief that you can count on yourself, there's nothing you can't face. So today, if you're tired, if you're doubting, if you're feeling invisible or uncertain or overwhelmed, you still have one job. Show up. Even if you're quiet, even if you're scared, even if your confidence is cracked, you get up, you breathe deep, you move forward. Not because it's easy, but because it matters. You've got a purpose that's bigger than your pain. You've got people who need the version of you that didn't quit. You've got a fire in you that's been buried under stress and setbacks and self-doubt. And now is the time to bring it back to life. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the fastest. You just have to be the one who refuses to give in. This is the moment where you draw the line. You stop letting your feelings decide your future. You stop making choices based on fear. You stop waiting to feel strong, and you start acting like it. Because the action is what makes you strong. The world doesn't need another perfect person. The world needs someone who keeps showing up, who keeps giving their best, who doesn't disappear when things get hard. Someone like you. So from this moment forward, every time weakness whispers, stay home, you show up. Every time fear says, you're not ready, you show up. Every time doubt says, you're not good enough, you show up. Because you're not showing up for applause. You're not showing up for recognition. You're showing up for your future. And that's a future worth fighting for. So stand up, straighten your back, face the day with whatever strength you have. And if you don't feel strong, act like it anyway. Because that's how you become. Show up strong, even when you're feeling weak, and watch how everything in your life starts to change. Number 9, admit mistakes openly and learn from them fast. You don't become powerful by pretending to be perfect. You become powerful by being honest enough to admit when you're wrong and strong enough to learn from it fast. If you're still trying to hide your mistakes, if you're still trying to look flawless in front of others, if your pride still matters more than your progress, then you're holding yourself back, and you already feel it. You feel that weight every time you lie to yourself. You feel it when you know you could have done better, but you're afraid to face it. You feel it when your ego speaks louder than your conscience. That tension inside. That's not failure. That's an invitation. That's life trying to break through your pride and make you grow. The truth is, your mistakes are not your problem. Hiding them is. Running from them is. Refusing to own them is. The people who stay stuck in life are the ones who always need to be right. The ones who can't look someone in the eye and say, that was my fault. I could have done better. I missed that one. You will never rise higher than your ability to face your flaws. But you know what makes a person magnetic? What makes a person truly respected? When they mess up and they own it. Without excuses, without deflection, without blame. That's when people stop seeing you as just another talker and start seeing you as a leader. Because everyone fails. But not everyone is bold enough to face it head on and learn from it fast. People don't lose trust because you made a mistake. They lose trust because you lied about it, because you covered it up, because you refused to take responsibility. That's what breaks relationships. That's what erodes teams. That's what kills potential. And not just with others, with yourself. You can't grow from what you won't face. You can't improve what you keep denying. You can't evolve if every time you're called out, you defend, attack, disappear. The people who rise fast in life are the ones who say, I got that wrong, I misunderstood. I messed that up, and I've already started fixing it. That kind of honesty, that kind of self-awareness, that's power, that's maturity, that's someone who's going somewhere. But most people don't do it. Why? Because they're afraid of judgment, afraid of looking weak, afraid of losing respect. And that fear keeps them small. It keeps them guarded. It keeps them pretending. But what they don't realize is this: the longer you wait to admit the mistake, the more damage it does. Not just to your reputation, but to your own identity. Because now you're not just dealing with the mistake, you're dealing with the lie on top of it. The story you told yourself to avoid. The truth, the image you built to protect your ego. And all of that weighs more than the original error ever did. People think admitting a mistake is giving up power. No, it's taking it back. When you admit what you got wrong, you step into control. You stop being reactive and start being strategic. You stop hiding and start leading. You say, I'm not a victim of this. I'm the solution to this. That's the shift that changes everything. You want to know what will accelerate your life? Radical accountability. Taking ownership for everything you touch. Being the first one to raise your hand when something goes sideways. Saying, don't blame them. That's on me. Not out of guilt. Not out of shame. Out of strength. Out of clarity. Out of respect for yourself and your mission. You don't need to be perfect. You need to be real. You need to be responsible. You need to move fast when you realize something isn't working. People who succeed don't avoid mistakes. They close this gap between mistake and correction. They don't sit in shame for weeks. They don't disappear in fear. They don't spiral into overthinking. They own it, fix it, and move forward. Because the faster you learn, the faster you grow. The faster you pivot, the faster you evolve. The faster you admit it, the faster you can rebuild trust, both with others and with yourself. And let me tell you, self-trust is the most powerful force you will ever develop. When you trust yourself to face anything, to admit the hard truths, to confront the uncomfortable, to stay open even when it stings, then you become unstoppable. Because now you're not avoiding life. You're engaged in it. You're learning in real time. You're improving every single day. The people who go far in life, they're the ones who outlearn everyone else. And learning doesn't come from doing everything right. It comes from failing, noticing, adjusting, and trying again, fast. It's not the mistake that sets you back. It's how long you take to admit it and grow from it. If it takes you a month to face what you did, that's a month lost. If you face it in a day or an hour, you turn that mistake into a launch pad. You want to build something big? You want to lead people? You want to earn respect in rooms that matter? Then start now. Look at your life. Where are you blaming others? Where are you hiding? Where are you pretending it's fine when you know it's not? Start with honesty, brutal honesty, not to beat yourself up, to build yourself up, to clean the slate, to stop wasting energy, defending something that isn't true. Because that energy, that could be going into solutions. That could be going into your next move. That could be going into your growth. If you're the kind of person who wants to win, then this is your advantage. Most people will never develop this level of accountability. They'll keep playing the blame game. They'll keep avoiding the mirror. But not you. You're different. You're building something real. And real things require a solid foundation. And that foundation is built with truth. So today, choose courage. Choose to admit it. Say the hard thing. Face the part of yourself that you've been running from. And then, don't sit in it. Learn from it fast. Write down what happened, why it happened, what you missed, what you'll do differently next time. Turn that pain into a plan. Turn that mistake into mastery. Because the ones who grow the fastest are the ones who learn the quickest. And that starts with facing the truth. Stop stabbing. Stop pretending. Stop hiding behind pride. You messed up? Good. Now get better. You failed? Perfect. Now improve. You got it wrong? That's life. Now fix it fast. That's how you move forward. That's how you earn respect. That's how you rise above. Admit it. Learn fast. Move on. And become the person you were always meant to be. Number 10. Push people to grow, even when they resist. The hardest truth about growth is this: the people who need it most will fight it the hardest. They will resist. They will push back. They will try to hold on to what feels safe, even if it's breaking them inside. Because change isn't just uncomfortable, it's terrifying. It threatens everything they thought they knew about themselves and their world. If you want to lead, if you want to make a difference, you have to be willing to push people even when they don't want to be pushed. That's the real test of leadership. Not cheering when everything is easy, but holding steady when resistance rises, when excuses flow, and when doubt threatens to overwhelm. There's a natural instinct to give up on people when they resist, to step back and let them stay where they are, to avoid the conflict and discomfort of confrontation. But what if that moment of resistance is exactly where the breakthrough begins? What if the struggle is a sign that transformation is near? If only someone would push just a little harder. Push too softly, and people stay stuck. Push too hard and you risk breaking trust. But push with courage, patience, and clarity, and you become the catalyst that moves them past their own limitations. When people resist growth, it often sounds like, "I'm fine like this," or "I can't change," or "this is too hard." But underneath those words is fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of losing control. That fear is powerful, but it's also fragile. It can be softened with understanding and firm boundaries. The secret is to balance compassion with conviction, to hold people accountable without shaming them, to challenge their excuses without breaking their spirit, to remind them that discomfort is temporary but regret lasts forever. You don't push someone to grow because you want to control them. You push because you see their potential, because you believe they can be more than they are today, because you refuse to let fear or complacency steal their future. Sometimes pushing means having the hard conversations no one else will have. It means naming the truth clearly and directly. It means refusing to let people hide behind their stories or excuses. It means being honest about what's holding them back and what it will cost if they don't change. This kind of leadership isn't popular. It isn't easy. It requires courage to stand firm when others want to soften the message. It requires patience to keep showing up even when it feels like you're banging your head against a wall. And it requires humility to listen as much as you speak. But pushing people to grow is an act of love. It's saying, "I see your worth," even when you can't see it yourself. It's holding a vision of what's possible for them, even when they're stuck in doubt. It's refusing to let them settle for less than they deserve. You can't save anyone from their own resistance. Change only happens when a person chooses it. But your push can be the spark that lights the fire. Your challenge can be the jolt that wakes them up. Your refusal to give up can be the anchor they need to keep going. And the reward for pushing through resistance is immense. Not just for the people you lead, but for you. Because when you push someone beyond their limits and they rise, you build trust that goes deep. You create loyalty that lasts. You leave a legacy that outlives you. This is where true leadership shows up. Not when the path is clear and the team is motivated, but when resistance is high and the risk of failure feels real. This is where the difference is made. This is where champions are born. So ask yourself right now, who in your life needs you to push them today? Who is stuck in fear or comfort or doubt? Who is hiding behind excuses and telling themselves, "I can't," or "I'm fine"? You might be the one who has to stand firm, the one who says what no one else will say, the one who refuses to accept less than the best from yourself and others. It won't be easy. You'll face anger, denial, and resistance. But every time you hold steady, every time you push just a little harder, you break the cycle of stagnation. You open the door to growth, because growth isn't comfortable. It's not supposed to be, but it's necessary. It's how we become more than what we were. It's how we find purpose and fulfillment. It's how we live fully. If you want to see change in yourself or others, you have to push through resistance. You have to get uncomfortable. You have to challenge the status quo. You have to be bold. Today, decide to be that person who doesn't let resistance stop progress. That person who stays committed even when it's tough. That person who leads with both heart and courage. Push again. Keep pushing, because the greatest rewards come on the other side of resistance. If you're ready to lead this way, to be the force that moves people forward, even when they resist, then start now. Push harder, care deeper, believe stronger, and watch how impossible barriers begin to crumble. The time is now. The challenge is real. Be the leader who pushes people beyond resistance and into greatness.